much like you started off with a quote, I'm going to start off this discussion with a quote as well. And I love this, and I have to give you credit for it because you brought it to my attention. It's a quote actually that comes from Arthur Conan Doyle, right? He's the author of Sherlock Holmes, right? The original works, and apparently this comes from the story A Scandal in Bohemia. And Arthur Conan Doyle says it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Insensibly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. And I love that. I it's such a perfect segue into what we want to talk about, because if you think about it, there's another visual that you shared with me. I won't share it on screen here, but it's basically, something that was in Brene Brown's book, apparently, from what you had said to me. And it was actually her professor who had shared with her. It was called the Circle of Science, which talks about hypothesis or theory, and then empirical observations, and then the whole deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning. But the idea was that apparently a professor said to her that observations were not enough to reach a conclusion, right? You had to put some evidence to those observations, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's, I think, in a nutshell, what describes the philosophy with which we approached creating kind of what we call our measurement ecosystem of leadership development, right? And we refer to it as very, kind of the philosophy that we have around this is it's leadership development to business impact analytics. That's the headline. And then how do you do it is you do it via what we call our input process output highway. And, leaving all the technical jargon out, it simply means that we are basically taking an evidence-based targeting approach to leader development. It's as simple as that. It's having a hypothesis, based on that hypothesis, intervening, and then evaluating if those interventions move the needle on business outcomes. And that's it. And I know it seems very simple, and I'm probably oversimplifying it, but it frankly is a return to the basics of how you should be doing any investment, whether it be for personal gain or whether it be for organizational gain, is that you have to be a constant student and a constant learner of if your interventions are working or not. But you can't be doing these interventions, in a trial and error way. You can't be doing these interventions I'm gonna throw something at the board and see what sticks. You have to approach this in a very intentional way. And that intentional way is what we just discussed, what you discussed earlier on, is the ability to kind of create these new models that can put leader attributes and business excellence attributes into one system. And then we basically can go in and say, based on that evaluation of the landscape, where the opportunities are, can we provide surgical interventions? And the term we use, Jeannie, for that, surgical interventions are basically interventions for jobs to be done that organizations have for leadership development. In some organizations, it could be a job to be done where they're trying to scale leadership muscle across all their pay to lead, leaders inside the organization. There's a job to be done where folks are looking at it and saying, how can I drive better and more effective innovations within my category and my industry, right? There are other jobs to be done which are about saying, how do I get greater levels of engagement within the organization, or how do I take my turnover ratios and turn them significantly lower? So anyway, there's specific targeted surgical things that leadership development efforts ought to be doing.